wants to see Mike's like, oh, god damn it. Sorry, because I drank more Sprite, which is what caused the suffering in the first place.
Hey everybody, it's Doc. It's the Modern Boomer Podcast. It is season 2, episode 5. And Damo and I have finally been able to connect with all the work that's been going on. And
So busy.
Yeah, Damo has had this is his first podcast from his new digs.
Yep.
With hiccups too. With hiccups.
There's hiccups, guys. Sorry, I've been literally trying to get rid of them for the last, 15 minutes. And short of, getting hit by a car, nothing's worked. So
Yeah.
diaphragm is not reset.
Yeah. We actually do get people who come into the hospital for hiccups. And some of those people, they're just like miserable because it becomes painful because it's a spasm of your diaphragm and it's uncontrollable. So it's like a muscle jerk. We call it fasciculation, but it's a muscle jerk of your diaphragm. And it's just, after a while, it starts to hurt.
Like, what do you do
You
if
ever
you
had them
can't get rid of them? Yeah. But I've never hiccuped so long that like I was contemplating my life and
Yeah.
consumed a drug addiction or anything. What do you do for that? Like a muscle relaxant or?
Yeah, you can do muscle relaxants. Baclofen, which is a muscle relaxant, is often used for them. There's all sorts of weird tricks, but I mean, from the ER standpoint, you get an x-ray, and make sure there's nothing irritating the diaphragm on either side.
Okay.
And sometimes it's just electrolytes, or sometimes it's just stuff you eat, the way you swallow, or just, you've had probably jumping muscles like your eyelid twitch or your thigh or something. And you didn't do anything wrong, so that could happen too. But I've seen certain meds can cause it, but we usually give like baclofen or Valium or one of those meds to try to calm it down. But a lot of things don't work, and it can be like miserable to people at times.
What's like the at-home technique for getting rid of hiccups? Like holding your breath and drinking water, somebody startling you. Does any of that stuff actually work? Is that just all wives' tale shit?
That, as far as I know, it's wives' tale stuff. I've tried it myself. I've been a couple times. I've been so freaking miserable. They're like, you'd be hiccuping every once in a while, and then finally it starts slowing down, and you're like, it's gone.
And then it comes back.
Thank you. And then it's like, as soon as you think you can let your guard down, and like it zings you again, and it's like misery.
It's one of those things that like the brain is so weird about what you can control and what you can't. And you might think it's critical stuff like holding your breath or like breathing and stuff, but like you can hold your breath, but you can't hold your heart, I suppose.
It's very hard to hold your breath till you pass out. There are some people who can do that, but it's really, really, really hard. Usually your brain like kind of takes over and is like, no, we're breathing.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's a system that automates it because people always say like, think about your breathing, and it's like, okay, now you have to control it. It's not automatic anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And that's what causes people to drown, right? Because if unfortunately you're underwater, like eventually your body is going to make you try to inhale. And that's kind of it.
I've been close underwater where I was like, this isn't good. This isn't good. You get that panic, almost that like burning panic sensation, like a dread, You get talking.
You're trying to get up to the top, and you're like, "Why is this taking so long? I should have been up to the top."
Yeah. This pool isn't that deep.
Scary.
No, never drowned. Been close, never drowned. But yeah, no, I'm always curious. There's some things you control and some things you just can't. Like vomiting too. Like you can't control that. I guess you can kind of, sometimes you can almost mentally talk yourself out of it. But if you're gonna get sick, you're gonna get sick. Unless you get what is it? Zofran, yeah. Zofran
was originally made for chemotherapy, and then everybody just kind of used it for anything, and now it's kind of like the drug of choice. And other medicines like Reglan or Phenergan or other stuff, we only use them as like second line. But Zofran tends to be so much better than everything else that it's the first med that just about everybody goes to.
I've taken Zofran. I've had a couple of girlfriends who had Zofran for nausea. It was like prescribed to them. And I've taken it after partying before. Works really good the next day if you're hungover. I never was the guy that got sick after drinking. I just feel like shit. Yeah. Emotional shit too. Drinking is like happiness is a credit card, man. If you're gonna cash out, you got to pay it back. It's usually
With
immediately
interest.
the next day. Yeah, and it's not it's a very short term loan. It's a 12-hour short term loan.
It is. It
Um,
is. It is. I have. It's funny when you talk about that. I remember I had a story once when I was like in high school. My friends wanted me to drink, and I really didn't drink. And we used to drink MGD, Miller Genuine Draft. I don't even
Okay.
know if they make MGD anymore. But
it's like
I
PBR.
was PBR is my favorite beer. My favorite like run of the mill cheap beer. If it's on tap, I get it every time.
PBR tastes like homeless man's tears, Doc.
But great. I need a
I
t-shirt
know.
that says that. I pay real money for that.
I'll drink PBR. I'll drink PBR. My trashy beer is called Montucky, which is like what you imagine, like salty cowboys, and ranchers that, you know, like those fat ranchers that are like 70 years old still ranching, and then it's like they just
Right.
don't give it up. Everything is blown out and fucked up, but they refuse to stop doing their job. That's like what Montucky's for. But it's so good. It's a good shitty beer.
It's Mon, like Montucky.
Yeah, like Montana and Kentucky put
Kentucky.
together. Montucky.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, if you find it, it's a blue can with like a little horse on it or whatever. I recommend it. It's super cheap, and actually, I grew up. A lot of people know I grew up kind of country. I grew up in the country of Colorado, out in the boonies, and my buddy Jardine and my buddy Hoosier, country boys through and through. Wear cowboy boots every day, kind of blue collar guys. We were working on my pickup truck, and he was like, "Hey, you want a beer?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, absolutely." So he brings out the Montuckies, and I'm drinking a lot of beer on hot days, and sometimes a cold beer can actually feel refreshing. Not always,
yeah.
because it's not water, but
Yeah.
I drank that Montucky, and it must have been just enough water that it was like, this is really refreshing. And then we slammed like a suitcase of them sitting there in his garage. I was like, yeah, I'm not going home now. That we slammed a suitcase of Montuckies. But no, they're really good, and you can find it on tap periodically. But I don't know. I'll have to explore some of this crappy country Texas beer out here. I'm sure there's something.
There must be. That must not be an East Coast beer. I have to look out for that. But
I don't know.
If I see it, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to definitely get it.
Yeah, you'll have to get. It's cheap and it's refreshing. I could enjoy a couple Montuckies, and they're not like corn syrupy, and they're not super like bland like a Bud Light, and they're not as crass as like Coors Banquet. I don't know. I think they're just like a good middle beer. They got enough crisp to it that it's not flat and kind of goopy like a Bud Light, but not as sweet or rough as like a Banquet. So I like them.
So that story, we were drinking MGD, and my friends thought it would be fun to see me drunk, so they started slightly titrating in some Jim Beam into the beer, because I was already feeling it. Well, when you're already feeling it from the MGD,
you're like, this beer's spicy.
Yeah, like, hey, you want some more? And all of a sudden, like, it just got more and more replaced with
Jim Beam.
Jim Beam.
This is the longest lasting beer I've ever drank. This thing just never empties.
Then the next thing you know, I'm like upstairs in a weight room bench pressing, and then
just man shit when you get drunk,
Let me hit the bathroom while I'm upstairs, and I don't know, like for some reason my pants came off, and then I fell down a flight of steps with no pants, so that was fun. And then my friends all took me home. High school. My friends took me home, and then they snuck me into bed with my contact lenses in. And I woke up to my mother waking me up at like 8 o'clock in the morning. She's like, cut the grass. And I was like, oh.
She knew. Mama knew probably.
She probably did, because I looked all over my arms and legs, and there were like little rub-on tattoos of dinosaurs like all over my body.
Mama knew.
Yeah. Mama was mad, and I'm like, why are you mad? You just saw the lines on the lawn. They were like,
cut the grass.
I couldn't mow a straight line. It was like a field sobriety test.
Is your mother a drill sergeant? Wake up, you're like hungover as beyond. And no, hey, good morning, I love you, how are you? Wakes you up, cut the grass.
Saturday morning, cut the grass. That's right.
Okay. Hey, that's the stuff that toughens you up. It builds character.
It does. But,
the youth of today don't understand that. Sorry.
So what's your favorite thing to do in Texas now that you're there?
Sit inside and get away from the fucking heat.
What's the temp?
It's hot here. Right now it's actually nice. It's like in the 70s, but when I first got here, it's like 106 outside, 107, and I live in southern Texas, southern east, southeast Texas, and so we get that Gulf humidity. It's not as bad as Florida, but it's still, I'm a mountain boy. I grew up in that arid climate, so anything over 60% is humid to me. And here it's like 100% at 106 degrees. I mean, I tell you what, there's something about humidity. It's like because the water content of the air is just as hot, if not hotter, you can't cool off. There's no way to pull the heat from your body. So it's technically hotter. It's like 106 humid is not 106 dry.
Right.
I don't care what anybody
absolutely.
says. So,
you feel it.
Yeah, it's like, God, baby powder. When I start riding the motorcycle, baby powder is going to be with some of the riding pants I have. Yeah, there's no one able to get out of any of my suits, my track suits. There's no way. I'm gonna have a team of people just to pull me off my suit with all that sweat. No, but I honestly I like it. Texas is it's funny enough because I never thought I've always had an interest in living here. But like it's just Colorado's just been my home for so long that you'd have to do a lot to make me not want to live in Colorado. But I've always moved. I guess I've moved a couple times just to try it out, I suppose.
Right.
And this is kind of a similar scenario. But the cost of living here is a lot more reasonable than where I was living in Colorado. I mean, half the expense for similar quality.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, it's totally crazy. And it's not like, I mean, don't take me wrong. The mountains are pretty and the climate's wonderful and things like that. But is the climate worth another $2,000? You know what I mean? Like you really have to, and going through, finishing up the divorce and stuff like that. $2,000 goes a long way,
sure does.
with all the expenses and stuff. So, I'm more than willing to deal with the heat and humidity for a little financial relief while I'm getting the rest of the stuff wrapped up. But that's why it's just we're going to be out here for a little bit, give it a shot, and maybe I'll stay another year if I end up really liking it or whatever the case may be. But with the stuff going on with ADS and even with my with the lady, Colorado, we want to be back in Colorado. We're 100% want to be back in Colorado. I mean, even she likes Colorado better, not just because of the climate, but some political things that she likes better in Colorado. And the climate's a lot easier on everybody, when the fact that it can be 106 degrees during the day and then it's 90 degrees at 9 o'clock at night. You don't have that in Colorado. Colorado's 70 degrees. And no matter the dead of summer, it can still get into the low 70s in the middle of the night. And so you get relief at some point. That doesn't happen here. You don't get that relief. Again, the humidity holds all that heat in. So,
right.
I don't know. We'll see. But I like it. It's nice here. People are really nice here. It's weird. I think for any of our foreign friends who might be listening, I think when you're, if you're in Europe, you're like, France or whatever I'm living next to. Obviously, the culture is different there. But the United States, and a state can have almost an entirely different culture than the state you came from. And there's a different culture here for sure, a very different culture, and it's really unique. But like I said, it's nice. There's a lot of good old boys, But honestly, it's the same rednecks everywhere you go. Rednecks in Colorado are the same as rednecks in Texas. Belt buckle might be a little bigger here, so I like it. I like it more than I like Florida. There's actually like landmass and hills and something other than palm trees and sadness. So, sorry, Floridians. But no, I like it here.
You're not far from Nolens, right?
No, I'm a little away from Nolens, probably 6 hours.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Didn't realize it was that far.
Yeah.
I thought you were out in Houston area, right? Or no?
Yeah, I'm not exactly in the Houston area. I would say I'm north of Houston.
Okay.
North of Houston a bit. Kind of by. I'm still learning the area, so I want to say like the Woodlands. I'd say in the Woodlands region, which is kind of like a nicer suburb of Houston, I would guess.
Okay. All right.
I like Houston's still about an hour from where I'm at. So
you ever been to New Orleans?
Oh, tons of times. I love New Orleans.
Yeah, me too.
Been there, Bourbon Street. I'm all about it. Actually, the only place I've ever been to where a bunch of people didn't freak me out. I don't like big crowds, but something about Nolans, and I don't know. It's like all the people. It didn't bother me, and I don't know if it's just because it's just different there. Like the crowds at Nolan's not the same crowds like in a busy city. It's like nobody gives a shit about you. Everybody's here just to drink cheap liquor,
Right.
you know. So I don't know. I like New Orleans.
First time I was in New Orleans, I was in medical school, and there was a conference, and we got invited to go to a conference because I was on student government. So we flew to New Orleans. I remember the day before I started getting a sore throat. I'm like, oh, this sucks.
Oh no, okay.
And I went to the doc. They looked at me. They're like, yeah, it's probably a viral thing. You'll be fine. You can go on your trip. And I went on my trip. I tell you, my ears couldn't equilibrate the pressure, and it was absolute misery. And I couldn't, coming down, going up. And then when I got to New Orleans, it started with the fever and the chills and just the like shaking chills.
Those are the worst. Shaking chills are the worst by far.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? Shaking chills or not, it's my first time. I'm going on Bourbon Street. And I remember walking those streets in a cold sweat, trying to drink a beer with 103 temperature. As I then went to a hospital that I walked to because we didn't have cell phones back then that actually went any distance. And literally went and walked to a hospital, and then they gave me a Z-Pack, which didn't work, and I had to get on steroids to get home. But it sucked.
So for those who are watching Doc's face while I'm talking, I'm having a small camera malfunction, and I'm not sure why it's malfunctioning. Stupid. Electronics suck, guys. They don't.
The more electronics you have, the more problems you get.
Yeah, more money, more problems.
We were just talking before the podcast that my AIO cooler that I just replaced in March through a warranty is on the fritz again. And we were thinking about maybe switching over to Corsair. We were talking about some of the Corsair stuff that's out, and that stuff looks pretty cool. And you're wearing a new Corsair headset.
I am, the Virtuoso.
You're happy with it?
I am happy with it. I had an Arctic 7 before, and I liked the Arctic 7. I like it a lot. I just... okay, let me back up. The Arctic 7, it has the two hardware inputs. It has the normal game headset and then the chat headset. And that way you have a little knob and you can, choose between them and all that stuff. That's fantastic. But the Arctic 7 has just like the audio drivers. I don't know what it is. Like the drivers as in the speakers.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but they just like, sometimes they get poppy. Sometimes they struggle with bass. Sometimes the audio, the way they manage volume is kind of weird. They don't sit in your head really well. The band idea is kind of cool, but those bands get super stretched out. And, you can take a blow dryer and try to shrink them back down and stuff, but like who wants to do that all the time?
Right.
So I did some research on headsets because, I wanted another wireless headset, but I had tried the Cloud 2 wireless headphones. Didn't like them. Nothing like the Cloud 2 headsets that are wired. The quality on those are par above all, but the wireless 2 headsets that they have, just cheap. Did not feel good. I mean, cheap's not the right word. Well, they're not that cheap, but
are they flimsy?
It's not the same. Yeah, they just don't have a lot of features for what you pay. You know what I mean? But like these headsets, and maybe I'll do a review on them, but like thick magnetic locking, and like they feel like tight and connected, and like to do the sizing is like nice and mechanical, and it's just like a sturdy headphones. And I'm using the mic right now actually instead of my normal mic that everybody's used to. I thought I'd give this a shot and see what that sounds like in playback. This integrates with NVIDIA Broadcaster, so you can do echo removal and noise removal stuff. 9-band EQ or 12-band EQ or whatever for the headset, which you can actually unlock a more complicated audio management through, I'll tell you right now. You can unlock with the equalizer if you get voice mod installed. Voice mod will allow you to do even more modifications on top of it. It's all integrated. Plus, it's Corsair, so it's Connect IQ, and I'm a big Corsair guy in the computer world. Like my case and my fans and my cooling is all Corsair, so all that's integrated.
Who's your motherboard?
I have an Asus.
Yeah.
I have an Asus E299 or X299E.
Right. I know a lot of the Corsair stuff and the Asus stuff kind of play well together.
They do.
Some people may disagree with that depending on what forums you read, but I mean, you need to get an extra, I think, an add-on driver for IQ for it to see your Asus stuff. But I mean, you could get it to work. Yeah.
Yeah, I can, and I do have that set up actually. Or I used to. I just reinstalled Windows again in my normal every 6 months window or something like that. Especially with a lot of the developments going on, I did a fresh reinstall just recently with the development stuff going on because computer engineering things. But
so let me ask you a question about that.
Yeah.
When you do your fresh Windows install, do you set up Windows the way you want it, put your initial couple of apps on it, and then clone your drive? Or do you just wipe the drive clean, make Windows install tool, and just download Windows newest version off the internet and just install, and then just have to start all over?
Yep. I have a mechanical drive that I call like the archive or storage or some cringy generic name. Right. And I make consistent backups to that. And then what I do is I wipe all. So my mechanical drive, I'll consistently persist to for the backups. And then all my solid states and my NVMEs, I wipe them completely fresh from the ground up. Slap Windows, fresh installed Windows on there, usually the latest download version, whatever, up to the latest patch. And then I'll just do everything fresh from there. Because in my mind, it's like it's cleaner. There's less clutter. The registry isn't cluttered. You don't have a bunch of phantom stuff going on. It's just clean slate. And with the development and me having to install, 20 different C++, libraries and MCRs and all that stupid stuff that needs to happen. Now that I know exactly what we need, I can go through and just install what I need. I didn't have a billion of them extra because I wasn't sure if I was going to need them. And so, yeah, I do a fresh clean. I feel like it just is better. I always get my performance afterwards is always, and maybe that's placebo, but it doesn't matter. It's a free happiness.
But it's but it's time consuming.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, usually I'll do it at night. When everybody gets off for the night and, I'm not really feel like playing games, I'll put something on my iPad or the phone and look at TikToks or something, and just do it, it's actually weirdly therapeutical. And people are like, that's fucking crazy. But I've done it so many times that I can do it with my eyes closed, basically. I know exactly what I'm doing. And then when my computer's fresh, and I do get some enjoyment about setting it up again, getting it set up, getting new wallpapers, things like that. So, and with the internet I have, everything's done and downloaded in a couple hours. So,
oh yeah,
it's not as a hindrance like it was back in the early 2000s. When I did do cloning.
You're drinking from a fire hydrant with that internet connection, so that's a good thing.
I definitely am. I'm thankful for the fast internet because the internet in Colorado was faster than what I have here by just a little bit, like a small, 100 megs or something. But even out here in the boonies, I still have a gig connection. So for $70 too, $70.
That's nice.
Same as in Colorado, $70. So yeah, I get it done quick, especially when you got games like Starfield, which is 180 gigs or 90 gigs or whatever ridiculous size it is, and then all the project stuff we have, that's quite a bit big. Too. Right, yeah. Right. But that's all on a server. I manage the servers for that. So, but I'm still downloading on a gig connection in a sense.
Right.
So
right. No, I get it. You know what would fix that slowdown problem you have with Windows?
What?
OS 10.
You hear this Mac heathenry. Mac heathenry. The God Emperor refuses. What's he say? Are you a Warhammer person? Do you know Warhammer at all?
I do, but I've only played the online game once, but that was about it.
It's like burn heretic, whatever they say, for the God Emperor, God Emperor, whatever. Yeah. No, I'm wearing an Apple Watch and I have an iPhone, right, and an iPad, so I can't say too much, and I'm one of two engineers in my company of 300 that knows Objective-C and Swift, so I get stuck with Mac stuff from time to time, but no,
Right.
Mac's good. I don't know about OS 10 though. They're trying to bring
Mac,
gaming now.
No, Mac. We always have these right around the Apple events. Apple event in 2 days. Actually, lie. Yeah, no, 2 days. It's Sunday. I thought it was Monday.
Did you take
2
it off
days.
again so you can sit at home and watch the Apple
I'm happen to be off, so it just works out. But
For those who don't know, Doc takes time off for the Apple event. I watch it at work sometimes just so I can talk with him about it. But Doc
get my
takes time off.
popcorn, get my can of Coke, sit down and listen to Tim Cook weave his reality distortion field of things that I need to buy. He doesn't do it like Steve Jobs did it, but yeah.
Apple doesn't really give me anything new these days. They're like, look at this product that's like the last product with a slightly better camera and like some cool feature that really is not worth $1,000. But I'm no better, so I go out and I buy it. I love new Apple products are fantastic.
Do you buy the new phone every time it comes out?
I do. I just got a new phone. I'm on the 14 now, whatever the latest one is. Yeah. All
right.
This guy.
The Pro Max, the big one, the big daddy.
I have to use the Pro Max. Yeah, I can't use the small ones anymore. I mean, I have pretty big hands, so the Pro Max is fantastic. Because I mean, like my thumb can, basically go across the whole screen, and I don't, the small one, when I go to press a button, it's like I hit 6 buttons at a time. So I like the Pro Max, and people crap on iPhones. There's a lot of Android heathens out there who were like, Android's the greatest thing ever, but my iPhones have always done me right. I've actually driven over my iPhone. I drove my truck. It's a 9,900 pound pickup truck. I drove over my old iPhone 12 and it shattered the back, but it was good to go. Still works, no problem. So, and some shout out to OtterBox, but the phone worked great, and my iPhones have been through a lot. I have abused the dark side of my phones, and they just hang in there, especially on like the Panigale. I mean, the phone's right next to the triple tree there. A lot of engine heat coming up. It's smack dab in the sun all the time for hours at an end, and it doesn't skip a beat. My iPhone batteries suck though. They do tend to die pretty quick, I feel like.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that's one of the updates. I mean, as far as on the rumor mill, I heard that they're going to add an extra button to the phone that you can self-program. There's supposed to be a better optical zoom now with the new phone. And other than that, faster and battery life, I don't know anything else. It's going to look pretty much the same. But, probably even thinner bezels. That's always the thing, right? Shrinking down the
always
bezels.
Thinner bezels, yeah.
Yeah.
No, iPhones are good. iPhones are good. And I like Mac. I mean, I have a Mac Mini that my work gave me that has the M1 Ultra in it or whatever. For that Objective-C development. And I like it. I mean, I don't mind it, but I just don't like OS. Apple OS, like, to make a damn new folder in that OS is like, you got to like pull out the spell book to do basic shit. And if you do anything customizable, if you do anything in like the system layer of the software of the operating system or anything that's like advanced development, you have to.
Doesn't like that.
Yeah, you have to do so much. If I didn't know Linux, you know what I mean? If I didn't have some Unix knowledge, I suppose, good luck. Good luck. And don't get me started on how they package applications.
Yeah. It's good because for people who use it for just like daily tasks, I mean, Windows is kind of like that now. It does it really well. It doesn't really slow down. But yeah, the more you want to customize and really get under the hood, Windows is just much easier.
And I think it's also like, it's, what's the term from like, if it's something you started with as a child, you grew up with it. So that's what you know. Like Windows was the first thing I touched, Right. I didn't have a Mac in the house. Though I will say I got suspended from school in elementary school, which is a good story sometime. In the 5th grade or something. I didn't do anything stupid. I did what little boys did, but I'll just tell a story. It was around the time Columbine happened, and like all little boys, I was drawing tanks or something in my notebook, and because Columbine happened, all of a sudden every teacher is like, this 5th grader is clearly he's gonna hurt the school. I'm like, I didn't even know what hurting people was at that point in my life. Yeah. But I got suspended and I had to go to work with my mom, and they had an old Macintosh, like the boxy gray ones. And I played Diablo 2 on that sucker. Yeah. So I got a little Mac experience, but
you do. That's a funny story. If in the medical field, it's not that far off now. Like right anymore, because of the increase in depression and suicidal ideation and school shootings and all this stuff that happens with kids. Like, how many times have you ever said, like, oh my God, I failed my test. Like, I want to die.
Yeah.
Like, my parents are going to kill me. I wish I were dead.
Right.
Like, you say that today in school. And
it's different.
In jest, you are sent to the hospital. You'll get a full psychiatric evaluation.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, but no one is going to take that risk. No one's going to say, because they're going to, the 1 in 1 million where someone does something bad.
Right.
Some teacher had some forewarning and didn't act. Like, you'd be destroyed. Yeah. So now every time someone says anything like that, so that's a word for you. If anyone is, this is usually 18 and over podcast, so I don't think you'll have to worry about that. But like, you're just so much more responsible for what comes out of your mouth anymore, and that people will give you no slack. They'll be like, you probably didn't mean anything, but we're gonna have you sent over there anyway, and we're gonna let you talk to some people.
Which is traumatizing. I would think it's kind of traumatizing in its own way. You know what I mean?
It can be.
I know hospitals, and I'm not trying to poo-poo on hospitals. I know they want the best for you, but it can be a long time. If you get sent to the hospital for a psych eval, you may be sitting there for a while until the psychiatrist can come or whatever. You know what I mean? Because ER doctors, you're not a psychiatrist, you're not a psychologist.
ER tends to do the clearance, right? We check your blood alcohol or your breath alcohol. We'll check your urine tox. Make sure you're not like smoking the devil's lettuce or something like that. And then once that, I got that term from you. Once that's cleared, then you'll see crisis, usually. And then depending on the situation, you may or may not see a psychiatrist. But psychiatry is one of those medical specialties that unfortunately is very lacking in workforce. So, just kind of like you said, like you could be waiting a really long time because there's just not available people, or there's a lot of people to be seen and there's like one person. You have to take your time with everybody. So that like 10th person down the line, you may be there till tomorrow afternoon in the ER waiting to be seen. And it sucks, but there's no great answer right now because there's just not people to see people.
They need to figure out a way to like, it's funny because talking about the, saying things in joke. I mean, I've been having hiccups for like the last hour, and I told Doc, I was like, if these hiccups don't go away, I'm gonna suck start my Glock or whatever I say, Russian roulette with a semi-automatic gun, and it's a joke, clearly 100% a joke, but some people, you can really, people take it way too serious. We need to find a way to tell between, like, society can't take jokes anymore.
No,
at all. Dark humor is not allowed.
No. And you have to be in front of the right people for dark humor to go okay. You get the wrong audience in that, and that's a bad situation. That's a bad situation.
That's one of the hardest things for me out of the military, going into like corporate America, was dark humor is not perceived the same. Some
Positively.
people don't. They do not have the same flavor for dark humor, and I feel like I have noticed though that people who have dark humor tend to have had traumatic experiences, or have a traumatic job, or have been in and have to deal with trauma on a daily basis, and dark humor tends to work for them. So, if anything, I feel like we should have some leniency for dark humor, because it's how people, we live in a society where if you have trauma or something like that, everybody wants to coddle you in a sense, unless they don't understand your humor. Then fuck your coddling, But but yeah, no, that's. I have a medical question for you.
Oh, what's that?
Or a doctor question. Now, this isn't all doctors, obviously, but what is your opinion? Does it feel like, so from this specific person, the question is basically, why would doctors rather misdiagnose rather than admit that they just don't know?
That's a good question. I don't know.
And I said it's the fear of being wrong, or like it's not to look like you don't know, because people go to doctors expecting you to know everything.
Yeah, but I think to be honest with you, I think that's a really bad idea, because if you don't know something and then you miss a diagnosis because you want to diagnose it as something that you do know,
right?
That would be pretty dangerous.
Right.
I mean, does this person have a lot of experience with that? Because
Yeah, well, so their sister had lupus, I think is what it's called.
Mhm.
I think lupus, something like that.
yeah,
And for a couple of doctors they had, a lot of them were like, "Oh, it's just in her head,"
oh,
no, she's just making this up. And other doctors, tried other things, complete. And I know lupus was just discovered, or like more diagnosed recently than like it's what, in the last 10, 20 years maybe, it's the diagnosis of lupus has become more understood. I don't know the details on that, so bear with me.
yeah. No, it was around since when I was in medical school, and that was in the
Right.
90s.
Okay, so
So I don't know
this,
the time frame of it, but I don't remember a world without
it would have
lupus.
been early 2000s. It would have been early 2000s. So, um, but yeah, they were like, like she had a cardiac event, and they went to the ER and they got it dealt with. And then when they talked to their general care doctor or whatever, his diagnosis was like, oh, it's a psychological thing. But she legit has lupus. It's like, why would you tell somebody it's psychological? You know what I mean? Just because you don't know, or because that's the best guess you have.
It's
If
probably
it's the
that.
best guess you have, preface it with it's my best guess is, but
Right.
people don't hear that either. People like to just
Right.
like, you don't know? Oh, well, fuck you. And there's a reason it's called practicing medicine, right?
That's right.
You know what I mean? You
Right.
know?
It's like I had a patient today that came in with these ulcers all over her lips and swelling. And
Lip
she
filler.
said, I was no, she was a young teen, and
Okay.
she was on amoxicillin for strep.
Okay.
And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this could be viral, because did they actually do a strep test? Because some doctors will just look at your throat and say, yeah, it's strep throat, which in theory you should not be able to do, despite what anybody says, because they had an ENT conference once where they put like all these pictures of throats and they just said virus or strep, and doctors had a circle, A or B. And at the end of the tally, they found out that the chance of being right was 50% on a two possible answers. So it means it's a crapshoot, right?
Yeah.
So if there's only two choices and you're right half the time, then you can't tell.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I looked in the old records, and the strep was positive. So I'm like, well, does this person have like hand, foot, and mouth syndrome? Does this person have, erythema multiforme? Is this person of this? And I basically had to tell the mom, like, I don't know what this is. This could be a fungal infection, because when you're on antibiotics, you're more predisposed at times to getting fungal infections. Is this a viral
Like
infection on
thrush.
top of it? Is it an allergic reaction or an adverse reaction
Right,
to the
right.
drug? I don't know. But the way I thought about it, and the ER way of thinking about things, are usually, what's the worst thing this can be? And then you
That's an
try
interesting approach.
right. Well, that's the ER way of thinking about things, because it's doom and gloom first.
Right.
Right. Oh, you have a headache? Well, let's make sure there's not a brain tumor. Like it's
Yeah,
like,
Mr. Not meningitis.
right. So it's like, what? Yeah, you have to like rule out, like, this is why I don't think it's a brain tumor. This is why I don't think it's a hemorrhagic stroke or a brain aneurysm.
Right.
This is why I
Right.
think it's not meningitis. I almost got burned once. I mean, one story. I'm going to go into a second story where this person came in. This was, wow, probably about 15 years ago. This person came in, and this woman was a very dramatic female. She had a towel wrapped around her head. Complaint was headache. When I tried to talk to her, she would only whisper to me. She goes, "It's so painful. I can't take the pain." And the husband comes in and says, "She's had migraines forever. She has chronic pain. I'm used to dealing with her like this." And she wouldn't let us turn any of the lights on, and the nurses thought that she could
almost
be
psych.
either psych, narcotic dependent, narcotic abuse, who knows?
Yeah, like withdrawals.
Right. So I talked to this woman, and the husband's like, yeah, but she doesn't usually like dislike light. Usually she's okay. She just has pain. So I said, there was just something different about this headache. because it's not quite her typical headache. And she had what they call photophobia, so light sensitivity. And everybody's like, she's had 1 million CAT scans. We're going to CAT scan her again. There's too many CAT scans, too much radiation. So I said, you know what? Let's just send her for a scan. I sent her for a scan. She had a head full of blood.
Oh,
she had like an aneurysm rupture. And then she started seizing, in front of us. And then, we ended up intubating her. Yeah. Yeah, we ended up intubating her and flying her out for neurosurgery. But, sometimes things look like typical things and there end up being something horrible. So with this girl,
you gotta be thorough no matter what.
Right. Exactly. One of the diagnoses that we get nervous about is something called Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And it's basically like when tissue sloughs off your body like a burn.
Oh.
And in the mouth, that could happen with having strep, or it can happen with being on penicillin-based antibiotics for strep. So either one of them can cause it, but it's really, really rare. So we ended up admitting her to the pediatric floor for presumed, right? We don't know for sure, presumed Stevens-Johnson syndrome. So I would rather err on the side of caution than to say, yeah, it's probably not that. Why don't you go home and,
yeah,
hopefully everything will be okay,
Yeah, don't die, please.
So you should try to, if you don't know it, you should kind of be honest about it. And sometimes we'll say, I'm going to talk to one of the other doctors here.
Right.
We do that with rashes a lot in the ER. We do it by committee. We'll send a bunch of different docs in to look at rashes. Yeah.
Take a point. Pull straws.
Yeah, because rashes can be tough. But
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't lie, because if you lie, then eventually you're going to be wrong and you're going to miss something big, and then you're just going to get sued.
But I mean, do you ever think doctors rely on their malpractice insurance? Like, they're like, might as well get my money's worth. That's fucked up, and I'm sorry.
I don't know. I've never thought of it that way, and knock
do you
on wood.
Is there a record of that? Because I mean, I'm assuming people fucking sue for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah,
good, bad, and ugly.
There's a database, that I believe you get put on for malpractice suits or other unsavory behaviors that you get in trouble for.
Interesting.
So I believe it's Florida, and I don't know if this is still true, or somebody had told me, because I've never practiced in Florida, that like if you get named in 3 lawsuits, doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Someone wants to sue you. You could win. But if you get sued more than 3 times, you can like lose your license just for being named.
That seems unfair.
It does seem unfair. I don't know if that's still true, but that's what
especially
someone told
the
me about
old
Florida.
people there. Like all the old people they're always mad. So like
I don't think the old people they can be crotchety because they're sickly, but I mean, I find young people to be much more angry than old people. Old people are still appreciative, like, oh, thank you, thank you for taking care of me.
I wonder if that means I'm getting old now, because I'm always nice to my dog. I work with them. I want to solve it together. Let's team up and let's figure out the problem together. I don't care if I have to write a medical journal myself, if I got to do tests at home. The only time I've ever been crotchety about medicine, it's fucking CPAP machines. I refuse to do the sleep study. I tried to do a sleep study one time, and I about threw the damn thing out the window, and I'll never do it again. I just refused. And doctor's like, well, you should just check. I'm like, I can't. I already don't get any sleep, and then putting a machine on my face is going to make me get less sleep. So it's counterproductive. Though there's supposed to be medicine now where you don't even need a CPAP, but I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
But I've always worked with my doctors, even with like psychological, like psych medicines, like depression, antidepressants and stuff, which are like, it's like a shotgun, you just kind of shotgun blasting. The medicine does so much, trying to hope it hits that one thing. And I didn't say it took over a dozen medications. I tried over a dozen medications until I figured out the combination that worked right for me. But I got a lot of credit because I have a little journal that I kept where I would write down how I felt on what medication I took. And I would continue to make, and I would try to find references of things, or I've even used to say like, or whatever, anything I can reference against or use as a way to describe it or like explain, try to find the right chemical name or whatever it is. I've always tried to do that, and I've gotten some credit for that. But I feel like if I had not done that, I still to this day would have been trying to find the right medication.
No, that's
so
smart.
I feel like you got to work.
You
Your health should just be just as important to you than your doctor. I feel like a lot of people just go to the doctor and expect them just to solve it all right there for you.
Right.
Take this pill, go home, get sleep, drink water. And it's like, does not work that way. It does not work that way. Sometimes it does.
I had a young person, like a young person's like boyfriend got on the phone, wanted to talk to me, and he's like, why isn't she getting any care there? And I'm like, excuse me, sir, I don't know what you're talking about. We did lab work, CAT scan, IV antibiotics, this, that, and the other. He's like, well, no one got her lunch.
Oh, I'm sorry. Don't that Consuelo the maid? Did she call the cafeteria?
I don't know, man.
That's what
People
nurses are for.
People have some weird kind of expectations. I mean, like, in the ER, like lunch is not our strong point. It's not.
Yeah, right. That's
not
emergency lunch department.
Right. So it's like, it's people's perception of
how do you keep it cool?
It's hard, but it's like anything else. It's like people feel, and it's a human condition, and it's not just medicine, but people feel that for some reason they're able to tell you that you don't know how to do your job without ever knowing anything about said job.
Oh, it's my biggest pet peeve. They
don't know what the hell they're doing over there. It's like it's so easy to throw that kind of slang around, and it's like there's no reference to that.
I'll tell you what, but that's it, like any STEM field. How many times I've had girlfriends or people tell me something about computers that's completely fucking wrong. It's so wrong. It's upside down. And you're like, who told you that? Where did that come from? Or like even the other day, no offense to my lady, she was like, we got one of those little robots. Shout out to that technology.
Oh, I want to get one. Are they good?
Oh, it's big, but it's amazing. It has an app too. You can like track shit on it. It's, for me, if it's got an app, I'm excited.
Yeah.
But we went to go pick it up, and she's like, well, we got to get a cable for it. And I'm like, no, it's a 15-volt barrel connector, 2 amp. I have 600 of those sitting in a box somewhere from the 92 routers I've owned over the year. It doesn't matter. And she was like arguing with me about getting the right cable and like, let's bring all the cables over there and test it. I'm like, bring it here. I have the cable. I can make it work. Like I know what I'm doing. Like the other part of computer engineering is electrical engineering. I can handle a barrel connector, a power pack for electric box. I'm not worried about it. Right. Or even like, with my mom or friends in the past who like have computer issues, I don't think it's this. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's that, man. Pretty sure it's that. And they'll argue with you about it until you just, at some point I just ignore people and do what I do anyways. You know what I mean? And get to the bottom of it. But I don't have people's lives at hand either. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Man, maybe we can bleep her last name. Her name was Marlene. There's probably a billion Marlene in the world. Foul woman. This is way back before I was ever a software engineer, before I ever computer engineering. I was a remote repair tech. And she bought a laptop from the company I worked at. And I went out and helped her set up. She was bedbound. That woman's house smelled like feces and old food and fried chicken. And it was miserable. And we set this laptop for her, and she called back with a new problem every day. But one of the problems that she was so mad about was she's saying her double click didn't work. And I'm trying to explain to her, like, I know it works because I went there and set it up. So I'm like, unless you like punted the laptop in the touchpad, it should work fine, right? And she was adamant that it didn't work, made us come out, and she was just clicking too slow. And I was like, well, I try to explain to her, like, you gotta be a little quicker, like click, not click, read a book, click again. Like you gotta, it's a double click twice. She was so adamant that she's never gonna click that fast in her life. There's something wrong with the laptop. And, like, what do you do with that kind of stuff? How do you tell her that you're fucking lying? That's never worked that way. And not since the beginning of the mouse, it was a double click that slow. What do you do? What do you do? So I went in Windows and I just made it like a 30-second timer so that she clicked and then she could sit and cook dinner and then click again and it would still be a double click. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What can you do? There's something you can do.
You can't tell some people. You can't.
No, you can't. You can't. And
after a while, you just you got to like cut your losses and say like, I just got to get out of this interaction. just
Find the
live to
exit.
fight another day. Yeah.
But you know, in those people's defense, STEM field people, we do have a bit of a god complex. I like to admit I like to say I don't have one, but I've definitely had it show from time to time as an engineer, you know, with very specialized skills in the software world. I definitely have been like, okay, daddy's here, I'll take care of it. You know what I mean? You know, like I'm 10% of the world population. It gets still program in 6502 assembly or, you know, something it's probably not accurate, but you know what I'm saying? So I know that, and I know you do too. All doctors have a little bit of a god complex, right?
No.
Don't lie to me. That's cap. That's fucking cap. Cap all day. I think I'm using that word right. So it's a give
I don't
and
know what
take.
you're talking about.
It's a give and take. But yeah, some people cannot be taught. Some people cannot, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves is when like, you know, and I'm younger than you, and I don't have nearly as much field experience in my field, my specialized field, than you do in yours. But still having a decade in my field, nothing is more offensive than people telling you that you're wrong, you know what you're talking about, who've done nothing you've ever done. They know nothing about your job. They don't have 10 minutes in your field, but they want to tell you what you're doing in your job is wrong. And it's like, I just want to throat punch that person. You know what I mean? Just want to like, you know, hold them down and slap them, but you can't. There's nothing you can do about it. You just smile and wave.
Tremendous reserve. Yeah,
Tremendous reserve. Yeah, I guess the side effects of losing your temper is probably worse than
it is. It is because then there's meetings and emails and it's a whole thing, and then it's like it's probably just better off not even getting involved in this.
But you know what it takes too? It's like you can't really discipline STEM people like engineers and lawyers and doctors. You can't like be like, you gotta get your shit together. You can't write get your shit together emails. They have to be very softly worded, and you know what I mean? Don't do it again. You know, here's things you can do next time, you know, right? Yeah, you ever have to write the get your shit together email, doc, to another doctor?
Yeah, it's done in a very yeah, it's done in a way that tries to hide what it is. You know, we call them PIP, right? We're going to institute a performance improvement plan to help you reach your goal, because we are confident that you'll be able to reach this goal if you have the right tools to do so. Right. So we're on your side, and we're going to do this. You know, it's like blah blah, and it's just like you got to read through it. That's corporate stuff. You got to kind of read through it, and this is like, yeah, I'm basically I'm getting like the hammer dropped on me, and
Yep.
Where's or else? Like,
have you been on a PIP before, doc?
I have not.
Never in your life. You've never had a performance issue. Knock on wood. No. I have.
Just at home, not at work.
Oh yeah, well, I'm permanently terminated at home.
I'm always on a performance improvement plan.
You're always in this shit. I got a little, what do they call those chirp wheels you roll your back on? I got one of those for all the couch sleeps that I had to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Thankfully, I got an office now.
Exactly. I need Daily Bot for my performance improvement plan. Slack's daily. I need Daily Bot for home.
I know you guys don't know that it is, but I set up for the company or for the studio. I set up a Slack thing, and I installed this Daily Bot that helps force us all to do like weekly and monthly, you know, little reports about how everything is going, just so we have some reference to track. And when I first set it up, I had it on like daily, twice a day or some shit. So Daily Bot was like those kids. There's just like a door-to-door salesman that would never go away, like constantly ringing your doorbell. And everyone on the team was like, dude, if you don't turn this shit off, I'm gonna come to your house and beat the shit out of you. So I was like, okay, all right. So I turned it down to weekly and monthly. And even now I'm still like, skip, fuck off Daily Bot. I'm too tired for that shit.
Right. I need one of those for home though.
It's one of the Chat GPT check-in thing, the searching thing it had. That's all I wanted from it. But
right. That's funny.
I can never be a project manager.
Right.
I can never do project management, and I can never be HR. I've been on a PIP once in my time. Recently, with the divorce, everything's going on, I was not very productive at work, and so there's some protections as a veteran against things like that in the workplace, just because of like, you know, medications and stuff like that. And my boss was talking about it, and I was like, well, you know, I'm going through a divorce like that. And he was like, dude, why don't you tell me that stuff? I'm like, because it's work. I'm not gonna come home and be like, come to work and be like, woe is me, you know, my life is so
Wah.
hard. Yeah, like who gives a shit? But my boss at the time, he was like, dude, he's like, I give a shit because that dictates how I look at things forward. And
Right.
that's something in current corporate world that I'm kind of getting used to, because I have a pretty bad traditional mindset where I'm like, you leave all your shit at home
Right.
and you go to work a different person. You don't bring any of that shit with you. And now the workforce is like, bring that shit with you, because if we can make you better at home, then we get more money out of you and better in the workplace. It's like, you know, plus I have a really good boss. He's very much a people person, but
That's good.
but that ended up stopping everything once he realized
Right.
that like had a medication change and I had a divorce going on. He was like, oh yeah, okay, that means that says a lot, and then kind of, you know, went under the rug. But you know, it's funny too is I didn't even know like I'm pretty are you self-critical employee?
Yeah.
Do you
Absolutely.
you check yourself every day? You're like, how am I doing every day? You really kind of hold yourself accountable all the time?
You have to. I think it's a smart thing to do, because I see people who don't do that, and I don't want to be that guy. That's probably the reason.
The last bad mark I got on a report, like whether it's like a performance report or whatever, is that I'm self-deprecating and too hard on myself. That was what I got on my report, and I'm like, yeah, but that's just my humor and like how I manage my day to day. Like I feel like everybody's their worst critic, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're
You
not your
should
worst
be.
critic, yeah, you're a sociopath.
should be.
You know, you know what I mean? Like if you think you're perfect all the time, something's wrong. You know?
Right. That's
So-
bad stuff if you do that.
But I got that same email, the same, you know, get your shit together email, but written in a very calm and comfortable way. And I saw right through that shit. I saw right through it. And I was like, I know what this fucking email is. Then I was really upset. Then I went home and had like a breakdown, because like I've never been in trouble work. I've never been fired. I've been laid off one time when a company dissolved, so a little out of my control there. But
Right. Absolutely.
never been in trouble at work.
We
So-
had one thing. Just for everybody out there, just remember, HR is not there to protect you.
no. No.
HR is there to protect the company that pays their check.
Yes.
So, you know, HR
they'll
will
tell you
help to a
otherwise.
degree.
They're fucking
Yeah, I
liars.
know. But they're there to, you know, anytime anybody gets you get a meeting, you ever get a meeting with your boss, it's only 20 minutes and HR is coming too, you're fired.
Fire. Yeah.
You're fired.
Oh yeah.
They do
They're
that
so
with HR all the time.
And they talk to you like you're, you know, HR people crack me up, because I just had to talk to payroll because they fucked some shit up my paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to talk to the HR lady about everything that's going on. And just the way she talked to me, I felt like she was a school counselor or like a kindergarten teacher, you know, the way she was talking to me. And I'm like, lady, I've seen people turned into like pulled chicken in my life. Okay. I need you to just be direct with me. Just like, let's just talk what we need to talk. I don't need the gold star, pat on the hand, point on the doll where you were touched. Sorry, we can bleep that out. But you get what I'm saying? HR, like the way they talk to you too, it's so rude.
Yeah.
It's so rude. And people like that though. Some people, that's how they got to be talked to. And I don't get it.
People
I don't get that.
offended easily and they can't deal with things. So direct sometimes makes people feel uncomfortable. They're trying to not make it uncomfortable, I guess.
You got a HR people, Doc. The medical director, right? Don't you have to sit down and have meetings and tell me about why the color yellow makes you sad?
No, I don't have to do that.
By the way, Doc is exhausted today. For those who are watching, Doc, it's been a long day for Doc.
It is a long day. That's why. You know what? You know what makes my day good? It's getting to be able to play some games. I mean, that is like my ultimate release to a hard day right now. And gaming right now is just, it's good
For once.
for once, right? It was a bad 2013 or 2023. Wow.
Yes.
For like the last like half a year,
I
it was
live in
bad.
2013.
Yeah. It was bad. But now you got like Baldur's Gate and Starfield. I don't know how to split up my time.
I didn't like
it's-
Baldur's Gate.
You bought it though? You didn't like it?
I did. I returned it.
Did you really?
I spent $60 on that game. I played up until like I know I couldn't play anymore, and I found myself honestly, it's not that I didn't really like it. It's just I didn't have any time for the damn game.
Yeah.
I hadn't any time for it, and I don't even know why. I didn't mean to return it. I think I did. I was like, I'll just buy it again at a later point, and I wanted to put the money towards something else. And now it's just sitting in my Steam wallet, so I could just buy it again if I want. But
I thought you bought Starfield then.
no, I bought Starfield a while back. I bought Starfield. I broke my own moral code and bought Starfield
Long before it came out.
Yeah,
Pre-order.
I bought the premium digital $100 version of it or whatever. I wanted the early access. I wanted all that stuff, and
It's
I'm glad I did. I love that game, though it does have a flaw. I will say that the way it's funny enough, it's a complex game mechanic issue, but because of the way the game works, that there's no seamless transition between space and the planets, and there's no atmospheric flight. Sometimes the game, it's hard to continue that flow of a mission where like you're on it, like, in Skyrim, you go from point A to point B and point C and it's all in one plane and you're just moving along. Starfield weirdly lacks that kind of mission flow. Sometimes I find myself just like wandering around. I suppose.
What am I doing? yeah.
And that was the only real negative stout I had for it. A lot of people complain about performance, but I ran that game on the highest graphic settings I could on 2K on a 3080 with 100 FPS, no issues.
Yeah.
I mean, every once in a while there's a little dip or something that happens, but the game was flawless for me. Combat's good. I do like the faces. I'm not getting weird. Doesn't look like Oblivion, nothing like that. I've not had any of the issues that people have reported. It's not Fallout 4. It's been a good game. And the spaceship building mechanism is sweet. It's sweet.
I'm scratching the surface. I'm getting through it, but it's like I love just all the different things that you can do in that game. Like there's a couple secrets. Like one, spoiler alert, but like you can get a really, really powerful spacesuit right off the beginning if you go to the basement of the, what's the name of the place? The lobby, not the lobby, the lodge, right? Where you're bringing all your artifacts back to. If you go
I didn't know that.
If you go to the basement,
I'm doing that immediately after this podcast.
if you go to the basement, now hopefully they don't patch it because it might be patched. But there's this suit in a case, and if you get the right angle, you can get like a little gap in the case where you could actually take stuff suit out. And then
is it cool looking?
I don't remember. I haven't grabbed it yet, but I'm gonna grab it when I go back. But I watch these TikTok videos of these crazy things, like a couple of things. Like there's so much, and this is what I don't like about RPGs. It's a necessary thing, but there's so much loot. There's so much crap you have to sift
clutter.
through, right? What's clutter and what's not. But one of the things I learned is that there's some things that you can pick up. Like if you pick up the book Oliver Twist, if you find the book Oliver Twist, right, you would think that's just a piece of junk. But if you examine and you look at the book, all of a sudden London opens up as a landing site on Earth. So it's there are things that you can do that you can, that will change the game. I think there's another one you can get to the pyramids on Earth. But so even seemingly junk items could have a value, right? Yeah. There's another, there was another video I watched where if you go to this one mission, I forget the name of the mission, but as you're coming toward the planet, there's a space station out in the distance. If you kind of
the shipyard,
alter course. Now this isn't the one on the moon. It's a casino. It's a casino in space, right? So, and if you
playing space slots,
if you can get to this area above the casino, you can figure out how to hardwire the machines to win. It's built into the game. But it's all this cool little stuff you can do, and then you can cash out on all the machines. There's just there's an unfathomable amount of stuff.
See, that's the problem, though, is that we come from the Morrowind generation, which was used to that kind of stuff. And I think the generation tapes, it was not a waypoint marker on my...
Yeah,
that's the struggle, because I am definitely, I have definitely done that. I found out how to, join the city guard, the police.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not the Vanguard. You can do jobs for the police force. You run around picking dead drop packages up. You can hack the ATM machines. You can There's tons of side missions you can do, all sorts of stuff. I was all about it. I will have to check that out. But the rule of thumb that I have for figuring out what is junk and what is not is if it doesn't have a generic template name. If it's called just a book, that's a junk item. But if it's called like Bad Jokes 1, Volume 2, that's not a junk item. That's obviously a unique item because they spent the time to give it some sort of uniqueness.
That is a very good rule to live by, I think, with these games. And one of the other interesting things that I that someone figured out, this is like people who have like way too much time on their hands, right? So they realized that the AI in the game targets the center of your ship, no matter what ship you have. So this guy built a ship which is like a triangle and it has like no center. Or it's like a cube. So it's just like a linear cube. But so the thing always tries to shoot to the center of the ship,
like
but
something from the Fifth
it's just
Element.
like the laser beams just go through it because it's always aimed at the center and it never hits the sides. So if you make a ship without a center, like all the lasers just go through.
For those who are watching, we call those edge cases in the software world. Yeah. That's an edge case. When they were programming that, they didn't think some asshole would make a square ship, a hollow square ship.
It's exactly a hollow frame of a ship, but
that's hilarious.
Yeah. And then there's like these ships you can get. There's a superhero. I think it's called the Mantis. That is in the universe, and if you do everything right, you can get like their ship and their special like super suit. And then you can like play the rest of the game.
Where's my super suit?
I guess. But there's all this stuff, and it's like it's just so interesting, and I think it's Bethesda's best-selling game to date.
Yeah, it is right now. Yeah, but I think it speaks to our generation. I think Starfield. The reason I've noticed that the older crowd tends to like Starfield more than the younger crowd.
There's no multiplayer.
Yeah, exactly. Even I'm getting to the point now. I used to make fun of Doc for those back in the day about like when we played Tarkov and stuff. But I'm starting to get to the age now too, where like I don't play Tarkov because I just don't have the mental energy or the time to just burn away at mindless grinding to get one ammo grade better to hopefully get one more kill in a raid. Plus Tarkov stresses me out now. For some reason, the game just gives me anxiety. It used to never do that, and now it does it again. I don't know why.
Right.
I don't know. I'm soft.
You're 100% right about that. But the whole reason is as you become more professional, a lot of these games, you're either rewarded, or you are rewarded by time, by putting in time. Their skill is there, true. But I mean, you got to grind it out. MMOs are a huge example of that, and it's hard to be relevant in those kind of games if you don't have the time to develop, to devote. So stuff like single player games, and that's why I always liked games like battle royales, because they were kind of quick, in and out games. Yes. Everybody started out the same, and if you were lucky, you got good stuff, and their skill mattered too. Right. But I mean, I can never, Glenn. Think about Glenn when Tarkov has a wipe, right? He removes himself off Discord. You can't talk to him.
Yep.
And he's just got to grind it out. And he's like grinding it out for days. And I'm like, I can't.
Our CEO, Joe, used to be like that with Tarkov. He would like just live and breathe Tarkov. And even this wipe, he's been a little, but we got our own stuff going on, this project and stuff. I mean, I don't have the free time anymore to do that. I have other hobbies, and this is a little personal, but like after a divorce and failed relationship, the one thing I don't want to do now is burn another relationship. So I'm trying to spend time there as well. It's like, I hate to say it, but you learn a lot from a divorce. You learn a lot from a separation at that quantity. And you have to do a lot of self-reflecting, because it's not just her fault or their fault. It's everybody's fault. I hate to say it, but everybody fucked up in some way.
Right.
Maybe not entirely. Maybe you weren't the bad one, but there's things you could have done different. Right. Even if it wouldn't have made a difference, you still could have done something different, right? So, in the project, the project is, man, it is. My dick's against the floor day in and day out with that project. I work on it every day, sometimes mindlessly for hours. I mean, the other day I was on it till like 3:30 in the morning or something, trying to get stuff done. And so games like Starfield are nice because I can get on for a couple hours. I'm a badass. I get to do my stuff. I get a cool story. I don't have to worry about, Kyle and his cheats or anything, and Tarkov doing jumping, spin, flying kicks, shooting me in the mouth from across the map, and I just lost all my effort. I can get in, I can play my game, I can do good stuff, and I get off and I can work on the project and still get my relief. So, but we do need to play Diablo again.
We do.
I tried it. I'm glad you're doing the Starfield streams, because I tried the Starfield streams and OBS crashed on me 3 times, and I have no idea what I was doing wrong. I think I figured it out because I use like a plugin for all the fancy transitions, and I think something's going on there. But
I like your your setup stream with the motorcycle race and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty
the
cool.
GP. Yeah, I actually, that's a purchased version of that, so it's not. Hopefully it's not breaking any rules. But Ducati Demo, I was like, well, I might as well show MotoGP Coda, which is the track in Texas. Actually, that track that's done in Texas.
That's pretty cool.
Which I may try to do a vlog of that next time when it comes around the summer of next year for the TMB channel. I want to go out and do that. But for those who watch the motorcycle, and I know we're running out of time, but for those who watch motorcycle vlogs, everything's being shifted over because of the heat here. Like October, November, December are probably going to be the best months for motorcycle riding because you don't have a heat stroke for being outside for more than 10 minutes. So I still am going to do the motorcycle vlogs. I still have a bunch of stuff I want to show everybody. There's actually a lot of really cool. Texas is really cool. Colorado's beautiful, but Texas has a lot of history, more history than Colorado. There's a lot of stuff in Texas that you can go see. World's largest boot and the first this and the first that, and there's a lot of big open. Texas is a huge state. For those who don't know, or maybe not be from America, have never been here, it is massive. It's the largest state in the United States, and it's huge. There's so much stuff to do here, and there's actually quite a bit of UFO stuff here, believe it or not.
Oh,
up in West Texas, yeah. Maybe I'll go hunt a tornado down or something. I don't know.
There you go.
We'll figure it out.
Hopefully not get shot in the process.
Right. You said
UFO though. Did you say UFO or just weather?
No, UFO. Yeah, UFO. Yeah, up in West Texas, there's some good stories up there. Some skinwalkers and stuff, some hog hunts and stuff like that. But yeah, I do want to do the vlog still. We do need to do Diablo 4 again because I'm actually quite enjoying that. I am going to be doing another Starfield stream on top of Docs, but I'm not going to be doing. I'm not doing a normal playthrough. I'm going to make a character, and I don't know. He's going to be like space janitor or something, and we'll make a little mini series out of it or something like that.
Oh, that'll be fun.
You can do that. Like I said, I was thinking about doing Starfield cops, and it's just like, you know what I mean? Like cops are live PD, but Starfield edition, because there's things you can do, and that could be fun. So I'll figure it out. And for those who are watching, remember, just like in Morrowind, you do not have to do the storyline in that game. The game is actually designed to let you do whatever you want to do. It's not Call of Duty. If you just want to go and join the Vanguard and do Vanguard missions and be a soldier, do that. You want to go collect spoons, do that too. So,
yep, you do anything.
And the next thing I want to bring up, I'm working right now, is sometime in the middle of next month, I'm going to get a VR headset. Finally got stuff in motion for that. Made a plan for it, and I think we should do Ghost of Tabor.
I'll do it with you.
I know I just complained about Tarkov being hard, but I think the VR experience makes it a little different, and I think we could have some fun with that.
Oh, so I would definitely play that with you. I looked it up. Yeah, I definitely would play that. We'll get the PC version because it's probably a little better. And well, you want a PC VR headset, so we'll get that and we'll do it.
Though I think I'm going to buy the Quest. I think I'm going to buy a Quest.
You could. You just plug it. If you buy a Quest, you just plug it into a PC, and it's a PC VR headset.
That's what I looked at.
If you unplug it, then it's solo.
Oh, one other thing. I want us to try Zomboid. Have you heard that game before?
Project Zomboid?
Yeah,
I own it.
We should play that together.
It looks like fun, but no one will play it with me.
It's isometric. Okay, so again, I know we're running out of time, but I watched a video on it. And then I kept watching videos on it, and like a week plus of me watching videos on Project Zomboid went by, and I fell in love with it, and I got it, and I had, even though I've only played maybe an hour or so of it, I had so much fun. It's ruthless. It's a ruthless game, but it's so open world. It's so free. It's so unique, and everything I've ever wanted in a zombie kind of survival game, that game has. And I don't mind isometric stuff. I think that's even better. I think it makes it more fun and entertaining.
That's a really good point about, like, game creation is like that game's graphics are not its highest point, but yet
it's like
the gameplay And just the uniqueness of it and what you can do in the game just makes it
It's like
so much fun.
that boomer shooter compilation I sent you.
Right.
Where all those companies are making modern boomer shooter Doom style games, and some of them I got downloaded. So I was like, that actually looks kind of fun. I'm down to play. So it looks like Apogee made it, you know. So
The one that you posted that said like you gain health from the blood of the people you kill.
yeah,
Like,
it's
I like that.
It's very. There's one where you just kill cultists, you know, and they say like
Yeah.
crazy cult lines from like Jim Jones and stuff. It's pretty good. It's
That's
pretty
great.
good, but
That's great.
yeah, we need to get some more content, and I know we've been busy guys with the project, and it's been a bit rough. But when that lightens up too, or when we get around to a release, which I can't say much, I got a little bit in trouble
Yep.
last time
No.
for saying too much, but
getting there.
there'll be some content from that too, and you know, maybe we can do, when we get more public, we can talk about it more. So
Absolutely. And the last thing I just wanted to bring up is exactly something that you brushed upon before, is like kind of like time management for everybody out there. You know, it's kind of an obvious thing, but just remember, like, you are ultimately responsible for your own behaviors. So, you know, time management, you know, my ex-wife called herself the World of Warcraft widow. I think I said this on this podcast before, but she said that because I used to like just live on WoW. And when I got married a second time, like, I just don't do that. Like it's we have dinner, we clean up dinner, we'll exercise, we'll go for a walk, we'll go in the hot tub, we'll watch TV, we'll watch a movie, and then I retire to this, like when she wants to go to bed, so that I don't kind of take away from that time. And that's important because too much of any hobby can like encroach on other parts of your life and then get in a lot of trouble.
I mean, even mine's a gamer. She loves to play games, but even then I want to play games she wants to play, or you know, she likes to read books, so I'll go sit and read a book with her, or you know, whatever the case may be, spend some time. It's important, guys. So time management. Even with Doc, I keep, by the way, you didn't text me the other day. It's Doc's fault. For the one time I didn't bail on Doc, he didn't text me. I'm not taking that one. I'm just kidding. But time management,
I will text.
That's a good honestly, that would say that's the lesson of the day. Don't get, I did it with the motorcycle. Even in my last marriage, talking about something to get better. When I got that motorcycle, I lived on that thing for the whole summer, and it was not healthy. It was healthy for me. It wasn't healthy for everybody else around me, right? Or my wallet. So, manage well, guys.
All right, guys. So thanks for watching. Till next time, more content coming. Stay tuned.
We'll be more awake. See you guys.